Hi guys, so Boris Johnson decided to exit his fridge and enter this controversy surrounding Dominic Cummings and his breaking of the rules by going to visit his parents while infected. Now, the public are expected to follow the rules, and many people are concerned about the fact that Dominic Cummings hasn't been punished for this, and that it's not likely that he's going to be punished for this by Boris Johnson. So let's hear what Boris has to say.
Good afternoon. I want to begin by answering the big question that people have been asking in the last 48 hours, and that is this government asking you, the people, the public, to do one thing, while senior people here in government do something else? Have we been asking you to make sacrifices to obey social distancing, stay at home, while some people have been basically flouting those rules and endangering lives? And it's because I take this matter so seriously, and frankly, it is so serious, that I can tell you today I've had extensive face-to-face conversations with Dominic Cummings, and I've concluded that in travelling to find the right kind of childcare, at the moment when both he and his wife were about to be incapacitated by coronavirus, and when he had no alternative, I think he followed the instincts of every father and every parent, and I do not mark him down for that.
Okay, so Boris Johnson opened this press conference with a question. He said, it's a question on everyone's mind, is whether the government is asking you to do one thing while the government can do something else. And he hasn't even answered his own question. I didn't put the question in Boris Johnson's mouth. He read the question himself. And he hasn't answered the question. He hasn't said, yes, the government has asked the public to do one thing, but we're going to do something different. Or, no, the government has not asked the public to do one thing and senior members of government to do something else. So Boris Johnson has opened a press conference to respond. He put the word out. He presented this question. He read out the question himself. Once again, I did not put the question in his mouth. He wasn't asked to answer this question. He presented the question. Is the government asking the public to do one thing while senior members of government are doing something else? And then he turns around and says Dominic Cummings was doing what any father would have done. So are you saying that he broke the rules? That's what the question is. It's not whether he was legitimate in breaking the rules, or he had a perfect reason for doing so, or well, you know, it was a lapse of judgment. And the next point I want to say is, you have said I don't mark him down for that. I don't care whether you mark him down for it. If he broke the rules, he broke the rules. You are not the arbiter of the rules. You are the Prime Minister, yes. But you don't decide who can break the rules and who can't break the rules. The rules are for everyone, or they're not for everyone. But if you had come out at the beginning and said, look, there are two sets of rules. One is for the public and one is for senior members of government, then there would be no problem here.
And though there have been many other allegations about what happened when he was in self-isolation and thereafter, some of them palpably false, I believe that in every respect he has acted responsibly and legally and with integrity.
But what about the rules? Did he stay at home? No. Was he infected when he travelled? Yes. Did he have a legitimate reason? I don't think he had a legitimate reason. He said that he needed to take his children to their grandparents, his parents. So he travelled. He was sick. He was ill. He was infected, sorry. And he travelled with his children to elderly people. Why would he do that? And he said there was no alternative. But surely it would be possible for him to ask someone to take the children on his behalf. Also, if he's a senior member of government, surely it would be possible for him to ask someone within the government to take the children for him, or to hold the children for a period of time until he made a full recovery. Surely there would be some alternative to him actually going. Like, if he was infected, he should have self-isolated. There's no legitimate reason for him to leave his home.
And with the overwhelming aim of stopping the spread of the virus and saving lives. And I stress this fundamental aim.
So he travelled over 200 miles in order not to spread the virus. So let's just imagine that for a moment. He got in his car and he travelled 200 miles. Now, I don't know whether he drove constantly for 200 miles, or perhaps he stopped at a petrol station, put petrol in his car. Maybe he went into the station that's there and bought some sweets for his children. Maybe he had a snack. Maybe he handed someone cash. I don't know if he done these things. We don't know. You don't know. Well, maybe he told you he didn't do it, but how do you know? Do we have a record of his movements? No, we don't. And what about when he arrived at his parents'? He self-isolated, but surely he got in contact with his parents.
Because it's thanks to this country's collective resolve in achieving that aim that we continue to make progress.
And then you have idiots who take a step back, who, whatever progress the people have made, destroy that. And I'm not just talking about Dominic Cummings here. If it was any other member of the public, it would be the same. The public are doing their job. They're self-isolating. If they're infected, they're maintaining social distancing. And then you have an idiot like Dominic Cummings who's destroying all of that. Now, if it's the local village idiot who did it, it's one thing. But it's a senior member of government who did this.
So let me give you today's figures. 3,458,905 tests for coronavirus have now been carried out in the UK, including 110,401 tests carried out yesterday. 259,559 people have tested positive, and that's an increase of 2,409 cases.
And how many of those were infected by Dominic Cummings?
Since yesterday, smaller increase than we were seeing over the last few weeks. 8,951 people are in hospital with COVID-19 in the UK, down 11% from 10,085 this time last week. And sadly, of those tested positive for coronavirus across all settings, 36,793 have now died. That's an increase of 118 fatalities since yesterday. And
so he's just going to continue with the rest of the press conference. Now, why was Dominic Cummings not fired? I think there is a lot of pressure within the Conservative Party to get rid of Dominic Cummings, because Dominic Cummings is a problem. Dominic Cummings wants to redirect the Conservative Party in a particular direction. He wants to fill offices with his supporters, with people who think like Dominic Cummings. And this is a problem for the Conservative Party. Now, there's probably a lot of pressure on Boris Johnson to get rid of Cummings, but Dominic Cummings is very important to Boris Johnson. So Boris Johnson is on a bit of a knife edge, because if he gets rid of Cummings, there's a highly likely scenario where some information about Boris Johnson is released to the public immediately after, and that would destroy his career. So I think Dominic Cummings has some sort of hold over Boris Johnson. He has some information about him, or he knows that the Prime Minister can't survive without him. And then probably on the other side, the Conservative Party want to get rid of Cummings, but they know that Cummings has helped them arrive at this huge majority they have in Parliament. So they're afraid also to get rid of him for that matter. But of course there are people within the Conservative Party who are worried about their position, who are worried about the growing influence Dominic Cummings has and would like to see the end of him, like to see the back of him, see him gone. But I don't know if those people have enough power at the moment, or if they're loud enough, or if that group who want to see Cummings removed are sufficiently large that they could convince the Conservative Party to remove Cummings. You have to remember also that, and I talked about this before, Cummings is not a member of Parliament. He's not even a member of the Conservative Party. He's just an advisor, but he is seen somewhat as a Rasputin figure, someone who is manipulating the Prime Minister. And he is quite successful in his ways of working. He has successfully got Boris Johnson elected with a huge majority. He was instrumental in the Brexit vote, and also the slogan making around Brexit, which were successful in convincing people to support Brexit. So I think both the Conservative Party and Boris Johnson are weary about getting rid of Cummings, but certainly the Conservative Party are more likely to push Cummings out. Let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. Are you convinced about Boris Johnson's reasons for keeping Cummings on board? And are you convinced about Dominic Cummings' reasons for actually breaking the rules? Let me know. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks. Why not become a Patreon and enjoy access to our Discord server where we share news, chat, and have some fun? If you become a patron, you can also make video suggestions on topics that are important to you. Check it out via the link in the description.